Welcome to Pixel Pizza,
Did she say pizza?
your ultimate source for chiptunes, video game talk, and pepperoni. Delivered to you from Los Angeles and into the digital cyberspace of the 2020s.
Pizza power!
That's right, one super giant pizza.
I want a large, thick crust with double cheese, ham, pepperoni. Hey, where's my pizza? Pizza time.
Welcome back to Pixel Pizza. We are here with episode number 14, keeping this train rolling. And we got some more exciting guests to be speaking with this week. I am very enthused about this episode. First, one thing I want to bring up is that I have changed the Instagram handle, in case you did not know, because I probably haven't mentioned it in a few episodes. We are on both Instagram and Twitter, which is where you can keep up with when we are releasing these podcasts. So go to @PixelPizzaPod, Pod, and that is where you will find both of those accounts. And we post when the new episodes are out. So you can go ahead and do that if you fancy. And without further ado, I want to talk about this week's guests. We have another dynamic duo joining us today. 2 guests for the price of 1 on Pixel Pizza. You are getting the best deal in the galaxy. So get ready, because we have a set of brothers, very cool brothers. No, not the Mario brothers, though they will be coming soon. Wahoo. This is the Allanson brothers, Andrew and Brian, who you may know from Ackk Studios. They've done Two Brothers. They've done YIIK, a postmodern RPG, and are currently developing the revision, follow-up, update, whatever you want to call it. We'll find out more, called Y2K IV. Very exciting, and you will be hearing about it here. So, as you may or may not know, Andrew worked on the music for the game. He was the lead composer. And so we are happy to be sharing some of the tracks from the game that he is most proud of and he wanted to share. And they got some cool names too. So hope you're vibing with this. That's right. We are starting off with the track called Villa Wild, DJ set at the Literal Apocalypse. So get ready to jam to that one, and we will see you with the interview after. Bye-bye.
I should am listening, I am dreaming this city. I am the crow, and the crow's name is Molly. She has no wings, she was never a flyby. She is the one thing that I ever had.
The system is fucked us up. Feel it 100%.
What the hell was that?
Welcome back to Pixel Pizza. You just listened to the track DJ set at the Literal Apocalypse. And now I am joined by my guests for the episode, who I'm very excited to be speaking to. You may know them as Ackk Studios, developers of games like Two Brothers and YIIK. And these are Andrew and Brian Allanson. How are you doing, guys?
Doing great. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely, anytime. So, I like to start off my episodes by asking, when did you guys realize you wanted to work on games?
Oh, a long time ago. It was, I think we started getting interested in game development I think it was 1999. I was 9 years old. We had just played Ocarina of Time and Pokemon Red. And we were interested in making games. And I remember my dad took us to Barnes & Noble, and we were looking at the programming section. And we saw a book on game development, and we kind of just became fascinated by the whole idea of programming computers and developing our own games. And so we were children when we knew we wanted to do it, and I don't think we ever lost the intent. I think we always knew it was going to be what we were going to do with our lives.
Yeah.
Was there like a moment in Ocarina of Time where you played it where it just like clicked for you?
I don't think there was a specific moment. I think it was like love at first sight with that game.
Yeah, just
Yeah, I think
Go ahead.
I think to a certain extent, it was the realization that somebody made every component of it and that you could make a video game. I think that's what really got like us really passionate about it.
Totally. It's like a real production. It's so many different facets and people coming together to work on it. It's definitely cool.
Yeah, and I
And
think it was definitely like the
about
first time
that.
we'd ever like interacted with the 3D world before. And I think
Mm.
something about that like really drew us in.
Oh yeah, I remember when I first played the N64, it was wild. It was mind-blowing. From there, what were your like first encounters with making games?
We started with Quick Basic, and we went through a book that my uncle had lent us, and we made Brick Breaker, and we did the typical things that you do when you're learning Quick Basic, and then we got interested in multimedia fusion and the Click Team products like the Games Factory, and we made a bunch of stuff in there because we were able to make our ideas quicker than we were with something like Quick Basic. Uh, and then it became just like something we were always doing. So like we would make like a little project and then we would share it with our friends on a zip disk. And we were always working towards some idea of some sort of game. I don't think there was probably maybe like 2 years between then and now where we like didn't have something in the works.
Oh,
Yeah.
I can barely remember a time where we weren't working on a game.
it's been a lot then. So what, like 20 years?
Oh, I don't want to think about it like that, but yeah, I guess it is. Yeah, I'm 31, so yeah, something like that.
And you said your uncle gave you the book. Was he a programmer?
He was, yeah.
Yeah, he
Or
yeah,
still is.
but he didn't do game stuff. Yeah, he did like enterprise software and more like application based stuff.
Oh, okay, that's cool. So, how would you say your relationship as brothers has impacted the way you make games?
Well, because we lived in the same house, it definitely helped us work together and sort of have a two-man production at all times, pretty much.
Yeah, and we shared a room, so we would be able to just like up until the late hours of the night be talking about the ideas and sort of fantasizing about what they could be or what they could, become.
Yeah, it was very
Oh,
much all-consuming.
so I think having that sort of that literal closeness made it really easy to collaborate. And it also like we don't like fight, and we never really fought even when we were kids. And that's like the one thing people always kind of assume is that like we must like clash a lot because we're brothers, but it's not that was never really a problem for us. I think we kind of have like similar interests in the types of things we want to make. So I think being brothers probably made it easier in a lot of ways than working with a friend.
Yeah, that's definitely a really unique relationship to have as creators. Did you have any like shared shorthand or any ways of communicating that only the two of you guys knew?
I think so because when we started working with other people on Two Brothers and with Y2K, I think we got some strange looks for
Yeah, it was
the way that we.
yeah, I guess it's like easier to like we kind of like when we start like sharing a vision with one another, like we kind of get where like the influence is coming from, so we already know like the kind of thing we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Other people need to be brought up to speed though.
Yeah, that was a learning experience for us.
Yeah, I bet so. Getting into Two Brothers, where were you guys in your life when you made that?
um, I was in college. Brian had just finished college, and he had started the game himself on his own as screenshot mockups and pixel art tests. And the crazy thing is, Brian did it as a way to wind down from working on his thesis, which was a 3D animation.
Wow.
So to take a break from doing 3D art, he did 2D pixel art.
Yeah, and the pixel art in that game is so detailed. That's for like for a thing to do on your break. That's so in depth.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was kind of relaxing to just sort of make it. It helped that it wasn't colored, or at least in the beginning it wasn't.
Mm.
That kind of let me just sort of focus on the different shapes and character ideas.
Yeah, I think the whole idea for that game had come about from Brian having done it in 2D, and not in 2D, sorry, in black and white. And then one day he colored the sprites, and then it's like, wow, these both look really interesting. So maybe the game needs to be both black and white and in color. And it just like made the story very obvious immediately.
And when did sort of you said other people came into the mix? When in development did that happen?
Pretty early on, but they didn't really do too much in the end. Most of it fell on Brian in the end. Like we had people who were going to like help us bring it to the Wii U, but they got overwhelmed and it didn't work out. And then there were some friends from school, from the community college that we had gone to before we started the game. So pretty early on, we were trying to work with other people, but it definitely,
Yeah, I think maybe one
um,
of our friends made it to the end with us.
yeah, Ian made it to the end,
Yeah.
and but he did a side quest series, but like the bulk of the development was really Brian's labor.
Oh wow, that
So it was like me and Brian brainstorming ideas, and me doing audio and working on the story, and doing dungeon ideas with him. But really, the effort was on Brian's end there.
kudos to you because that was a big undertaking.
Yeah, the game sort of ballooned in scope. Um, it was just sort of like something that we planned it, but the way that we planned it, it just sort of kept having to become bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, a lot of amateur mistakes.
Would you say that was a lesson you learned moving forward about scoping?
I think we learned it after we finished Y2K.
Yeah, I think it's a
That's when we
lesson
learned.
that I'll probably be learning for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
Like, you get a little
I
bit
think.
better at it each time.
For sure, yes. Like someone can tell you something, but it doesn't like register until
Yeah,
later
it's not
on.
even like being told. You have to get to the other side of the project before you can really see mistakes. Like, even if you know, like intellectually, oh, I shouldn't do this, or I need to plan it this way. Uh,
I mean, like as soon as you declare something like there's going to be one dungeon for each color, you've already
yeah, things like that
tied
is,
yourself to a
yeah.
certain scope.
After that game, you guys went in a very different direction with your next project. With Y2K, it's a totally different genre, different visual style. What were some of like the motivations and the challenges behind that?
Well, I think it's the first time that we've ever done like 3D. Like, as we were working on games, I was also working on 3D modeling, which I eventually went to school for, like computer art and animation. So I kind of wanted to take the two disciplines and put them together and finally be able to work on a 3D game. Um,
Yeah, I think 3D games had interested us a lot more than 2D games for a long time. Um, Mainly just because of the immersion into the world, and it's not that 2D games are not immersive; they absolutely are. But the idea of crafting a 3D world appealed to
yeah, but I think
us,
that was the first time
and
that all of our skill sets aligned that we could pull it off.
yeah, or at least try to.
Yes.
It's awesome. And I guess it goes back to sort of when you guys first got really into games and you were saying how 3D was really what showed you the potential of the medium.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's something about like constructing the environments and having like physical models that you can physical digital models that you can rotate around and really get up close with the camera. Stuff like that was interesting to us, and um, we had an idea for we knew we wanted to make a turn-based RPG. We wanted to do it for a long time. Um, and then when we finished Two Brothers, um, we had booked booth space at PAX East, and we were gonna maybe show off Two Brothers again. We had showed it there once before, but we didn't entirely want to do that. So we kind of challenged ourselves. Like we're like, we have 60 days until PAX. Can we make a prototype for, a turn-based game? And we made the Y2K prototype and we brought it to PAX and we found our publisher that way. And we kind of just like threw ourselves in like directly into the fire, and that tends to work out for us when we just kind of commit to something and just dive in.
No kidding. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I was there at that PAX. I remember.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
nice.
Yeah, I remember you guys had like a big couch.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the demo was like early. It was like the dungeon and then like the battle backgrounds. It was all like a sky with clouds in it. Am I remembering that right?
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah. We made that in like 50 days.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah. It was a mad dash because Brian was working full time at the time, and I was still in school, and so it would be like I'd get home from school and Brian would get home from work, and then we would try to work as many hours as possible on it before we had to work.
Ooh.
And but it was fun. It was so much fun. It was one of my most fun memories.
Yeah, me too.
I can imagine. And so how did that happen with the publisher? They just came up and saw the game and said, "Wow, we want to work on this with you," or did you approach them? Oh,
Basically, yeah. No, basically that's what happened. We had a few people. Back in 2014, there was a real indie game gold rush. So if you had a prototype, you had an opportunity to get it in front of publishers, and those opportunities still exist, but the industry's changed a little bit. So yeah, Yisbreed was the one who ended up getting the game in the end. But we talked to a few publishers from who all played the game at PAX, and that's kind of back then that was kind of the point of PAX. It was to try and get attention from someone who would be able to, financially back the game and help you get it onto a console and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think that was my first PAX, so it was still,
That was a good one.
yeah.
It was a good one.
Yeah, so from there, I guess once you had them on board, you brought all this other big talent from around the industry and for the music and the voice acting. Uh, was that through Eastbrid that came about, or was that like you guys reaching out?
So the music was all me just reaching out to musicians that I admired and asking them if they would do it, showing them the music I had created for the game, and telling them my vision for like having guest tracks and guest arrangers. And then the voice acting, we actually had met the person who did the voice directing at PAX East 20 minutes before we met Brian Queck, who was the publisher.
Wow.
He runs Yisbreed Games. Yeah, Brittany Lauda came to the booth and she was like, "I'm a voice director and I'm a voice actress," and she gave us her card. And then when we got the publishing deal, we were like, we should put voice acting in the game. And we contacted her, and she knew all this great talent, people who had worked on like a bunch of anime, and she facilitated the auditions, and yeah, it all just came together.
Yeah, one of the best business cards I've been handed.
Yeah, Brittany's amazing.
That's crazy. What timing? I know in developing it, you mentioned like in blogs and stuff, you had a bunch of like inspirations for the game, sort of like outside of games, like Murakami storytelling. I remember hearing you talk about. How did some of those? How did you incorporate some of those like non-gaming influences into this medium?
Well, the idea kind of was writing about somebody who wanted to kind of exist in a Murakami style story. So like some sort of fantasy about girls who go missing and adventures that lead to surreal, magical, realist environments. So I think that with Murakami being an influence, I tried to make the protagonist speak like somebody who was obsessed with the novels. That's why Alex has all these lengthy monologues where he just goes on and on, because it's supposed to be him trying to make his life a story like a Murakami novel.
Right.
So that's probably the biggest way that that influence is in the game, I think.
I see. I love, not to jump ahead too much, but I watched the stream of like the changes you made for Ivy, and I love how he's on a stool and like a poetry slam kind of setting, uh, doing those monologues. It totally captures that idea.
Thanks. Yeah, I like the
About the new monologue system.
That's right. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, it definitely is an improvement on presenting that the monologues and having you understand why Alex is doing it. So I was really happy that we were able to have that opportunity to add that new storytelling device to the game.
Yeah, I think it helps convey the idea a lot better.
So before we go any further, I probably should go to our musical break for the episode. And for that, we are going to be playing the song Player Chases Cat. So enjoy that one. And listeners, we will see you after the break. Guys, stay right there. And yeah. welcome back to Pixel Pizza. You just listened to the track Player Chases Cat. And we are back talking with the Allanson brothers about their work with as Ackk Studios. And yeah, so with Y2K, I know when the game released, it was a very divisive reception. There were people who
Yeah.
absolutely loved it and are still doing all this awesome fan art to this day. And then there are people who were, disappointed and not so pleased with it. And as creators, how did you sort of filter all of those opinions coming your way?
Well, I mean, we had
I
opinions as well, about it, so I think that, like, obviously listening to people was important, but so was paying attention to the stuff that we didn't like about it as well, especially when it came time to do the new update.
I think for like the actual like immediate reception, like that it was it was rough. Obviously, like I think the things that the game was criticized for, um, I mean, like the battle mode, we knew people might not like it. We knew the balance wasn't perfect, and we knew that the cutscenes were not as good as we wanted them to be. So we expected that criticism. We had hoped people might be able to look past those things and see like the heart at like the core of the game still. But I think the criticisms that were the loudest were the ones that we definitely didn't expect, and they kind of blindsided us because we didn't expect it to be like scoring 10 out of 10 like but seeing like 3 out of 10 and like 2 out of 10 and people saying it was like the worst game ever made, the worst indie game ever made, like
Oh my God.
that stuff was it was it was brutal, but like everyone's entitled to their opinion, and I think it was mainly just like how quickly the narrative around the game and like people's assumptions about us and about the types of people we were was the hardest thing to deal with. Like there were people who day one had said that Alex was a self-insert for me, and they started calling me out by
What?
name. And then they took a picture of someone who had there's someone who had looked like Alex and had pointed out the fact that he looked like Alex. I hesitate to call him a cosplayer. And they were passing that image around saying, "Look, he literally put himself in the game." And people were making all sorts of like assumptions about my character because Alex is flawed and he's not entirely likable, to say the least. So I think having that like having myself be brought into the reviews, especially like the reset era comments and like the whole Twitter discourse around the game, was really shocking, and I wasn't prepared for that. That was something that uh, really threw me off. So after that, I left the country for like a couple months and went to Asia and just didn't pay attention to the internet, and then came back and tried to see where the dust had settled.
Oh wow, that sounds so hurtful. I-
It was just weird. I mean, obviously it was uncomfortable. But I had to sort of reconcile who I knew I was and who people were saying I was based on the thing that I had worked on.
right, that's definitely something I have to remind myself a lot when I see comments is these people don't know me. They're just seeing what they're seeing online.
Yeah, yeah. And it was definitely, I had never expected to sort of be the like obviously like I had given a lot of the interviews and I had talked a lot on camera, and it was mostly just because I was the most comfortable doing it, and I kind of just got elected by the team to be the person to do it, and I was fine doing it, but I think it kind of gave a false impression that I was the game, and that's not true, and it also wasn't fair to everyone else who had worked hard on it with us. That like everyone kept saying, "Oh, Andrew Allanson did this horrible thing by making this game," and the moral equivocation was very strange.
Oh yeah, I guess that's kind of like with No Man's Sky where Sean Murray kept getting put on like the review shows and he kept getting targeted as like the mastermind behind why that game wasn't liked at launch.
Yeah, and you know what? Sean Murray turned it around and he made a damn good game now. No Man's Sky is incredible.
Absolutely. That I can get lost in that game for hours. It's so immersive and beautiful.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
really cool.
Out of curiosity, where were you in Asia?
I went to Taiwan and Japan.
Oh, that's awesome. What part of Japan?
Just to Tokyo.
Okay.
I was mainly in Taiwan, and then I went around all over Taiwan from the south to the north, just traveling, to a bunch of different places there, and purposely picking places that didn't have Wi-Fi, so I couldn't be tempted to like Google my name or see what people were saying about the game on Twitter.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah, I
Yeah,
haven't been to Taiwan. I'd like to go someday.
I highly recommend it. I think it's the most beautiful place to visit. The Taiwanese people are really friendly, and they really treat foreigners well, and it's very easy to travel around because it's really cheap compared to the United States and compared to Japan.
Yeah, Tokyo I have been to, and yeah, the the subway it did get pretty expensive,
Yeah.
convenient
Yeah.
as it was. Yeah, getting into sort of where you guys are now, you recently announced the IV. I don't know, are you calling it an expansion, an update? What's sort of the tag for it?
Yeah, we're calling it an update. It's called IV for intravenous, which is a story thing, and it's also for 1.5 because
Oh,
it's an update to the game and it's also half a sequel. So it's a pretty massive expansion to the game, and it's a free update. Everyone who owns the game already is just gonna get it when they update the game, and it's got a whole new battle mode, and it's got a bunch of new story events, and we've remade a bunch of the cutscenes to use uh, a bunch of in-depth animation and camera work, and we brought a bunch of voice actors back, and we added new storylines for Claudio and Chandra and Michael, and they all have like a really big arc now. In addition to like new bosses, it's a whole like 10 hours of more content.
that's exciting. Did you know immediately, like after the game had come out, that you wanted to revisit it, or did you have other projects sort of swirling in your head?
I didn't even know if I wanted to make games anymore after the game
Oh,
came out.
wow.
I mean, I think a lot of people, like a lot of my friends had said, like, just take the L. No one likes you. They don't like, just don't make games anymore. Just focus on composition.
Mm,
And that was a little rough to hear. I think they really internalized the comments on certain reviews more than I had, and the sort of like lack of support had surprised me. But there were still people who were supportive of Brian and I had each other,
Yeah.
and my wife was extremely supportive. And eventually, after about maybe 3 months of not really working on anything, we started working on contract work and working on other people's projects, and that kind of rebuilt my confidence a little bit. Uh, and then we decided we would do the 1.25 update, which came out where we improved the sewer scenario, and we balanced the battle mode a little bit better. But when we did that, it gave us the motivation to make IV, and we started IV like the day after 1.25 came out.
that's great. Like, what would you say some of your big goals are with fleshing it out?
Well, I think for me, like one of the biggest things is like we finally get the camera work to the point where like you feel like you're in the world. Because it always kind of felt like you were like removed, everything was very far away. Most of the storytelling was done with artwork, which is fine, but it's limiting and it doesn't
Sure.
really pull you in. Um,
Yeah, I think the game's story needs acting from the 3D models. to match the voice actors. When you only have like 5 emotions to pick from, it can be kind of hard to convey certain things.
Yeah.
So I think improved cutscenes was a big goal for
Yeah, and
us.
I think that we did a pretty good job with it now that, it feels like the characters are more expressive, it really pulls you into the world, makes you feel like you're in it.
Absolutely, yeah. From what I saw in that update stream, I agree that like anytime a game just introduces cinematic camera angles and movement, it totally changes it. Like I was it's silly, but I was playing the new Kirby game, and like when they have like the boss battles and the action sequences, and even though it's Kirby, it totally ramps up the intensity because you've got characters like flying in and out of the background and all this stuff.
Yeah, it
Yeah, that stuff adds so much to games.
right, and then we also wanted that sort of a feeling in the new battle mode as well.
Yeah, we wanted the new battle mode to be one is we wanted the new battle mode to be a lot more fun. We wanted it to be more engaging. We wanted to get away from the mini games, because a lot of other games have done the mini game battles, um, since we started development on Y2K,
Right.
and we wanted to sort of do our own vision for it. So we came up with a new system, and the new system was all about prioritizing um, the moment-to-moment gameplay, how engaging it was, how strategic it was, how varied each party member was, so everyone feels like they have a unique battle role, um, and making the battles feel a lot more cinematic and visceral, and have no load times, which is a big
Yeah, the
deal.
no load
That
times is
improves the game a lot.
huge for making it, like it just feels, like, more fun to get into a fight, you don't feel like you're dreading it now.
Oh, always.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you mentioned something I wanted to touch on, which is sort of in the time since the base game's release, there have been a bunch of indie games, both doing turn-based RPGs and also games that have taken like the PS1 and 64 visual style. And I was wondering, like, has that has like looking at those sort of changed the way you go at it, or what are some of your thoughts?
We never wanna be doing what other people are doing, um, not because, like, we're above it or anything like that. It's just, like, we wanna be contributing to the sort of, like, conversation in a way that only we can do. So I think that seeing games like, Knuckle
Oh yeah,
Sandwich, um, doing, the mini game battles, and, that game looks really cool, and it looks like they're doing a really good job with it. Like, we're like, "Okay, well, what is something we can do that can play to our strengths, where we can make something that's very unique, to our personal aesthetic interests?" Um, so I think that it's more about, for us, it's more about just trying to always find our own voice and not being in someone else's wheelhouse.
totally. Yeah. I think you guys have a very specific style, and being able to own that is super important. I guess, what's something about your process that nobody knows? Your creative process.
Oh, we work at my kitchen table, and it's another thing is a lot of times Brian will design characters, and then we'll give them a story. So Brian will come up with a visual, and then we'll be like, "What is this character? Who are they?" And I think that's a cool approach. But we actually changed a lot about our workflow for IV. Like, when we made 1.0, we because we needed to record the voice acting at the beginning of the game, so the audio engineer would have enough months to cut up all the audio. Um, we were kind of locked into the script, so a lot of choices were made before we got to see how they really worked in context, which I think was the sort of biggest and most limiting factor of working on the game. So when we approached the new story content, and there's quite a great deal of new story content, we worked differently. We came up with an outline, and we came up with the general thing that happens in the scene, and then we wrote the dialogue with the animation. So while we were animating the cutscenes, we were writing the dialogue at the same time. And that's a new approach we're trying, and I think we found that works much better, and the results are a lot more
Yeah, it's a
interesting.
very fast, almost like real time feeling way to sort of direct the scene.
That's really cool. That it's more cohesive.
Yeah, we really wanted to have a more unified vision for everything. We want each element to inform each other. Obviously, there's some things that are set in stone from 1.0 that we only have so much control over, but I think that we've managed to work within the constraints and definitely improve the game.
Great to hear. So, what would you say your hopes are for the rest of the year?
Well, to get the update out, we're pretty close to the end of it. But obviously, like it's when the beta testers all are done finding bugs, and we still have to record the voice acting, and that's going to happen soon. And we still have to translate it into Japanese. But once we've overcome those hurdles, we'll be close to putting it out. So our hope is to get it out, within a few months, and hopefully everyone who played 1.0 plays this.
Yeah, I noticed when I was looking through the studio social media, you have a bunch of Japanese fans. That's really cool.
Yeah, the game was pretty popular in Japan, and it was better received there. South America and Europe also didn't have any extremely scathing or personal reviews. That was a uniquely American thing. So I think that the most diehard fans are in Japan, South America, and like Russia and Germany, strangely enough.
Wow.
Yeah, you never know where your audience is going to come from.
Yeah. Brian, like we should just move to Japan and just make our games in Japanese.
Well, that's what Toby Fox is doing.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's in Japan. That's where he's making his games.
That's a cool move.
For sure. I guess I had my last question, of course. This is the Pixel Pizza podcast. Where is your guys' favorite pizza place?
Ooh,
I don't want to dox myself.
Oh, oops.
I can say a place that's nowhere near me. There's a place in Seattle, on Pike Place. I wish I could remember the name of it, but it's like a wood-fired pizza place that's really good.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about.
Other than that, I really like Joe's Pizza in Denville, New Jersey.
Ooh, yeah, I crave that pizza sometimes. That's
Gotta
good.
go to Joe's.
Also, there's a really close pizza place to me, so I frequently go there. It's like dangerously within walking distance.
Ooh, yikes.
Yeah, so I've had people come to my house before. I don't want it to happen again.
Oh, seriously? Oh, that's awful.
It is what it is.
Sure. Was there anything else you guys wanted to talk about? Any questions you wish I had asked?
No, I don't think so. I just encourage everyone who is interested in the game or curious about it, or even if you hated 1.0 and you thought that it was immoral or whatever, try 1.5. And I think you'll see that we've put a lot of effort and heart into it. And
if nothing else, I think you'll have fun playing it.
Yeah, it'll at least shock you. That's all I can say.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited to revisit it, and I'm hoping other people do too. So,
well, thank you for having us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thanks for taking the time to join me. Where can people keep track and like learn about the update when it comes out?
On Twitter, ACKK Studios, Ackk Studios, Y2KRPG.com, YIIKRPG.com. There's also the YIIK If you search Discord, you'll find it. There's a really active community of YIIK enthusiasts. And there's also, if you follow Alex YIIK on YouTube, we post a lot of the new content there.
Okay, great. All right. So, yeah, I think with that, we'll head out. thanks again so much, Andrew and Brian. And we're going to go off with the song Your Dreamed Connections.
Shout out to Grace Kelly, the vocalist.
Oh, yeah. Shouts out. Okay. So, see you guys next week.
A soon forgotten scene. We made in a dream, a world slipped through the sea. I don't wanna go, I don't wanna leave, but I am waking, unmaking everything. Forget your face, I'll soon forget your faces. I'll soon forget your face. I'll soon forget your faces. Oh, forget this dream and all that it means to me. Oh, forget this dream and all that it means to be. 3 persons, 1 body. 3 persons, 1 mind. 3 persons, 1 body. 1 body divide. Will I recall the failing so severe? The failings of my soul, they're slipping through my hand. I'm doomed to repeat this hell in my sleep.